Live at Hero Stadium in San Antonio, Texas, the U.S. Army All-American Bowl is taking place this Saturday at noon Central, 1 Eastern on NBC. We're making history, and I'm joined by Barton Simmons, who's the Director of Scouting for 24/7 Sports, the most detailed recruiting website in the country. You guys cover all the sports that are out there, Barton, but for Army Bowl week here, and your role in even helping to sort of put these rosters together, you were telling me earlier, you feel this is maybe the most deep that we've been with talent.
Yeah, and most top-end talent, too. I mean, I really believe we've got all the top contenders for the number one player in the country, a spot that's really up for grabs this week. Best quarterbacks, top 6 quarterbacks are here, top 6 running backs are here. Really the top 2 offensive tackles, the top 2 players in the country here. It's just a loaded roster this year. So even more so than usual, frankly. It's been a fun week and really talent-rich.
And so we're live on YouTube right now, and Facebook, and on the Army All-American page. So we're on pretty much all the social media platforms right now. So folks, keep tuning in. Feel free to share it from where you're at right now as well. Barton's going to get to work in a second. I'm going to be walking around, but give the folks an idea. You mentioned some of the Player of the Year candidates and number 1 overall player. Who are some of the guys who've been impressive along those lines so far?
Man, it didn't take long. Walker Little, the offensive tackle, he's committed to Stanford.
Right.
He's right now our number 2 player in the country, and we've even got a little higher than most. He's unbelievable.
And he plays nasty, doesn't he?
He's nasty, he's huge, he's got great athleticism, and he trusts his technique, which is rare for a guy that at this stage. He's really been blowing people away so far this week. So I think he's kind of the number 1 guy that's absolutely taking an opportunity, or taking advantage of this opportunity. That whole offensive line on the west side is, I think, the best offensive line unit that I've seen since covering this game.
So Foster Sorrell is the guy who we're expecting him to declare on Saturday,
right?
Correct?
And he's currently the number 1 player in the country. He's on that offensive line. He's out of the state of Washington. Could pick Stanford as well. Could have the top 2 players in the country going to Stanford.
So maybe the rich get richer for the Cardinal.
Yeah. So that's been really fun to watch on the east side. Aubrey Solomon is a name that's gotten a lot of love this week. He's
Fast
a defensive
twitch
tackle,
guy, right? Yeah.
No question, and plays that 3 technique, but plays really physical, but also has the ability to get skinny, get into the backfield, be a disruptor. So he's been a guy that's really had a good week, and won't surprise a lot of people. Alabama's got a really good shot at him, so the rich could be getting richer there. But
and Bart, we're going to see some of the skill position guys going at it, quarterbacks, DBs, because how this is going to start. First half of practice, 1-on-1 pass rush with the O-line and D-line is going to be going on. So that's going to be the first spot I hit. The camera's going to be coming with me as well, so we'll check out those drills, talk through some of the top prospects. Second half of practice, 7-on-7 is going on. So right now, wide receivers, DBs doing 1-on-1. We'll see full 7-on-7 during the second half of this practice session with the East versus the West. First time that both teams have competed against each other during the practice week. Who are some of the skill position guys we should be looking at?
Well, I think on the east side, there's a guy named Mike Harley, who's an undersized kind of slot type receiver that's just been getting after it. He's from St. Thomas Aquinas, one of the lower rated guys. He's committed to West Virginia. He's been a dog out here. DJ Matthews committed to Florida State, also a big time stud. He's been really, really good. And the guys out here at this event that's going to be trying to stop him, I think on the west side, the best DB all week has been a kid named Diamador Lamore, who's uncommitted. All the Pac-12 schools after him, taking some official visits in January. But both of these groups, both wide receiver and DB, really, really deep. And again, like I told you, top 6 quarterbacks in the country out here throwing it to them. So they should be able to get the ball.
All right, good deal, Barton. I'm going to let you get to work. I may bug you again in a few minutes. So, folks, just join me. I think we're good. I can address both cameras at this point, right? So we're going to go to the big guys, the O-line and the D-line, and just take a closer look at how they're working. And so 1-on-1 pass rush is the drill we're getting ready to take a look at right now. Like I said, especially for you folks who maybe don't get to see these types of things up close very often, invite your friends. Go ahead and share these links on your social media walls and let folks know what we're doing here. History is being made today in a few different ways because, as I referenced, this is the first time that we've had the opportunity during Army All-American Bowl week to have the East competing against the West. And so think about these top prospects in the position they're usually in, where they come this uncomfortable environment and normally are spending time competing against each other the entire week. So now we're seeing from both teams. This is the one time it's going to happen all week where both teams are going to be competing against each other. So this is the big guys making it happen right now. So you can go ahead and focus on the action that we're seeing there. What's trying to be accomplished right now? The guys in the yellow jerseys, that's the defense. They're going against the black jerseys on offense right now. You're going to get a certain number of reps that the East is going to get on offense, and then they'll flip sides. But right now, you're seeing some of the great pass rushes going at it. The interior right here. And right now, the East is on defense, the West is on offense. We're working on the interior. We're going to see a nose tackle facing the center right now. From a look standpoint, one of the things that people tend to view this as being advantage defense is because quite often, especially on the interior, you don't often see just sheer one-on-one pass rush taking place. A lot of times you'll see double teams or slide protection. So a lot of times people view this as advantage defense. That's why when an offensive lineman is able to stone a defender at the line of scrimmage on occasion, it's even that much more impressive in a period like this. So the O-line and D-line right now starting where the West is on offense, East is on defense. So with that being the case, we're going to see about 20 minutes of one-on-one pass rush with the big guys going at it. Then we'll get down to the opposite end and watch the skill position guys go at it here. And so just picture, if you will, that there's actually a quarterback who's there behind center that's actually in the backfield right now, because that's visually what we're actually trying to accomplish. A lot of power rushing taking place right now. So they're a very nice stab move that was used right there, getting to the inside shoulder of the offensive blocker. And one of the things that's happened over the years with the Army Bowl, I've been doing this game for NBC for 6 years now, and the size, the speed, those things have been there for a while now. I'm seeing the technique of the individual pass rushers and the pass protectors continue to improve as well. I think there's a couple of different reasons for that. One, the game of football has evolved by the fact that there's so much more volume with the passing game. And so pass rushers are getting more reps at the high school level rushing the quarterback. Pass protectors getting a lot more reps in protecting the quarterback, but also the teaching, the coaching that's done at this level, especially through an organization that works under All-American games like FBU. Football University brings a lot of former NFL players from all different areas of the country and brings them together. So organizations like that that are teaching the techniques of high-level football at a much higher level than what they did before, are improving the ways that people can try to execute the techniques of the game. So now we're seeing them switch sides. So we're going to see the West on defense at this point versus the East pass protectors on offense. So the left tackle on the offensive line right now kind of dropped his post leg a little bit. So technically Andrew Thomas, the left tackle there, dropped his post leg a little bit, but I like the fact that he was able to sink back down and not get powered back towards the quarterback. So again, as I was referencing advantage defense, so one of the things the offense will try to do is just to switch up the snap counts and things that would make it more game realistic in moments like this. That's a nice patient pass set there from Josh Myers, one of the highest rated offensive linemen on the East. Did a good job there. Didn't really bite on that inside move. And while the offense was able to finish with the defense on the ground there, I'd say Jay Tufele actually did a nice job because he got penetration. The pocket was pushed back. As an interior rusher, you may not always win clean, but to be able to get penetration, it's actually a pretty good job there by Tufele. Yeah, I'd say we call that one a win for the offense. Notori Johnson did a nice job there. Now, he did get pushed back, but again, just think of a more realistic setting where you may end up with another protector in there or a quarterback just slightly able to move the pocket. And so while the pocket did get condensed by Peavy, I'd say overall it was a pretty nice job there by Johnson. So that's Jalen Phillips rushing the edge, and this is a kid that's got all kinds of physical ability. He's a player that's about 6'6". They list him at about 240, 245 pounds. He can rush from either a 2-point or a 3-point stance. He'll be headed to UCLA next season. That's a very nice inside pass rush move made there. That was by Odua Isibor. As you're viewing these pass rush moves, check the hands of the defenders. You know, it's one thing to kind of explode up the field and out of your stance, but the hands that are being used is what I'm talking about when I'm saying the technique and the execution has really come a long way at the high school level, because the levers that you're using, the terms that I use when I'm talking about defensive line play, when I'm teaching defensive line play, how violent are your hands? How violent are your levers when you come out of your stance? Another nice block there from Notori Johnson. We've seen two different players try to power rush Johnson back. He's done a nice job sitting down against it. Isaiah Johnson's a player heading to Oklahoma next season. We saw the Sooners with a big win in the Sugar Bowl last night. Johnson's a very fast twitch player. Thomas is a fast twitch guy. But one of the things that happens in these settings, when you do a nice job counter rushing, but if you go into the rush without a plan of execution, a plan of attack, you're not really fully committed to that first move. So a lot of times you'll see, especially young pass rushers, counter back a little too early. Let's check this matchup on the interior here. We're going to see a zero technique nose. He's slightly shaded to his left on the defense. It's a really nice stab move. He did a great job. Tufele got both hands knocked down. Center actually recovered pretty well, but then from there, using an explosive hand to stab the center back. Spun him all the way around. That's an impressive move. I keep using that term stab move. When you're stabbing, you're using that one hand. Quite often the inside hand is pressing the offensive lineman all the way away from you. When you can stab the guy away like that, it puts you in a position where the blocker really can't recover as effectively as he initially wants to. That's what I mean by the term commitment. That's a great looking Jalen Phillips, him just committing to being able to turn the corner and come around the edge. Now, maybe that leads to a sack, maybe it doesn't, but he certainly beat the pass protector, beat the offensive tackle cleanly, and now he's in chase mode. He's got to burst and finish at the quarterback. But that level of commitment makes him very difficult to block. That's why I don't believe a rusher like a Dewey Seaboard, he's not really going to win a lot of power rushes at the next level. So it's very important for him to be able to work the outside half or outside third of the pass protector. That's a nice recovery right there. Because Ernest Brown did a nice job, got very quickly out of his stance and was able to threaten the A-gap. But just looking at a realistic game scenario, that was actually a really nice recovery from the offensive guard, not allowing him to beat him cleanly off of what was really a very quick, violent move off the snap.
Stay low, Humphrey, stay low. Keep your knees bent.
I like that. Creed Humphrey's headed to Oklahoma next season. Sooners are getting a good one. And one of the changes that got made here at the Army Bowl in recent years was getting true centers into the game. A lot of times you get you'd have 6 different left tackles, who were committed to the game, and sometimes 3 of them are on the field at the same time. You get guys during the practice week who hadn't really snapped a football very much before, but Humphrey's a player who he's snapped a football, he's been a center, and you see him comfortable on the interior. It's nice because Notori Johnson, while he was threatened up the field with speed, didn't get over anxious, didn't chase Isaiah Thomas out there too much, just sat down, waiting for that inside move, had a good sense for it, was able to pound that post leg back in. That's a very nice stutter, just a good quick jab move coming towards the inside. One of the things that Hunter Echols did there was threaten him upfield with speed before the stab.
Good rush.
Looks like his jersey may have gotten ripped off of him on the practice field previously, so I actually don't know for sure, but I'm going to find out who that interior rusher was right there. Marlon Tipilotu, all right. Excellent move there on the inside from 3 technique. It's a way to sit down right there as an offensive guard. As Peavy ends up raising his pad level. A lot of times, once you go in power rush, it's going to be the low man who wins on that scenario. Taking Jalen Phillips off the edge here again. Good work on the inside move. You're looking for physical traits, and Mike, you can join me again for a moment just to display something here. When you're looking for physical traits of edge rushers, one of the things that's most impressive about Jalen Phillips, the guy, I'm almost 6'4". Jalen Phillips goes at least 6'6" and looks like he's going to keep growing. But for him, being able to bend his knees and get in a leverage position to be able to explode up the field, he does a great job when you watch his film where he can utilize power rushes as well. So he's not one of these tall guys. We see a couple of body types out there that are very tall, very angular, but maybe can't bring the pop or the force into a blocker. Jalen Phillips looks like a player who's going to have the ability to compete very early for the Bruins. He's going to be a guy who plays early for UCLA because with that long frame, he's still got the explosiveness to show speed up the field, but also explosive power to be able to get into blockers. And so while he may not win every rush cleanly out here, once he continues to clean up some of the techniques of being a pass rusher, then he should be a guy that really threatens both in the pass rush game and against the run at the next level. And especially with all these Pac-12 quarterbacks that are returning next season, UCLA's defense led them to a few victories, but offensively they struggled. He's a guy that I know my old coach from the Atlanta Falcons, Jim Mora, has to be very excited about seeing next year for UCLA. Practice field here in San Antonio, U.S. Army All-American Bowl practice. First time ever we're seeing the East practice against the West. This is the big men going at it right now, the offensive line against the defensive line. East squad is going against the West. We'll take a quick break, we'll take a timeout and come right back to you in a moment.
They can't match your first step.
Good job, boys.
It wasn't.
He was feeling yourself, huh?
Yeah.
I'll move down by you here in a minute. All right. You'll be lonely long. Oh, yeah, a couple of good plays. We have a couple of plays. Yeah, you have to play. You just good job. That makes sense. You make an outstanding shot.
My dad or Jamie?
With Mike being able to get closer. So that first part of practice was more for me, the O-line and D-line, watching the big men go at it. Now I know a lot of you are extremely interested in what we're going to show right now. The quarterbacks, wide receivers, defensive backs, linebackers, the skill position guys in the passing game going at it. So we're going to be live on NBC on Saturday, noon Central, 1 Eastern. But this is the first time ever, as I've referenced, the East versus the West in practice. So this is 7-on-7 passing going on. We'll send Mike in there with the camera. I'll provide some commentary, especially on some of these top quarterbacks in America who are out here competing against each other, and the running backs being involved in 7-on-7 as well. So the way this drill sets up, it's essentially, for those of you who haven't watched it before, as though the O-line and D-line is not involved, so that's why it's 7-on-7. You don't have any of the big guys in the way. It allows a cleaner picture for the quarterback to be able to see, but full coverage responsibilities for the secondary and the linebackers that are involved on defense. So this is good work for the offense. In a practice week right now, we've got all these different players, these All-Americans from all around the country who've come together. They're breaking the huddle. You see Dylan McCaffrey, brother of Heisman runner-up Christian McCaffrey. He's in the huddle right now. He's listening in as Tate Martell is playing quarterback right now. Eno Benjamin, another running back and player of the year candidate, in the lineup with him. And Tate Martell is a very interesting story as a quarterback. He's already an Ohio State commit, and we saw the Buckeyes make the college football playoff this season. He's not one of these classic sort of statuesque drop-back quarterbacks. He's out of Bishop Gorman in the Las Vegas area. Hasn't lost a game in 3 years. So, I mean, not only is the program historic, but even at one of the more historic high school football programs in America, Tate Martell's done a great job of putting up just crazy numbers. Only one interception each of the last 2 seasons that he's had when he's been in the lineup, led them to the last 3 state championships. And while his skill set is very similar in that sort of multi-dimensional dual threat sort of skill set that we've known to see from Ohio State quarterbacks, as you can tell here, he's not one of the guys who are going to be, 6'3", 6'5", like some of the Buckeye quarterbacks. But look at that little teardrop he just threw to the back corner of the end zone. That's what he can do. He's sort of next level with his maturity as a passer. That was a very impressive look at how he can deliver the football from within the pocket. Well, let's see who's the next quarterback that's going to be rotating in here. Everyone tends to be, with good reason, very interested in the QBs and how they operate. So we're going to spend some time. We're really going to cover the quarterbacks in good detail here while we've got the opportunity to show you guys to them. And once we get to the game on Saturday, our live NBC broadcast, the running backs will be getting plenty of carries, and so that'll be part of what we're doing there, how we operate. We'll see Najee Harris, who most folks have ranked as the #1 player in America. Najee Harris in the huddle right now, but we'll talk some more QB play. So it looks like right now Tate Martell is going to be out of the lineup, and there's Dylan McCaffrey, who's come into the lineup. So that was more of an anticipatory route. It's essentially an out route. Dylan McCaffrey, this is just day 2 for all these players on the field. And so that's where the passing game, you would anticipate, will continue to grow more as we kind of head deeper into the week of practice. And Dylan McCaffrey is a very interesting story, only because he's Christian McCaffrey's brother. His older brother, Max, played Division I football also and is spending time in the National Football League on and off of a couple of rosters. And Dylan, his brother Christian was here just a few seasons ago. I called the game where Christian McCaffrey introduced himself to America on NBC. Dylan's going to have that opportunity this Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Mechanically, fairly sound. Some things that I think, would be tightened up for Dylan McCaffrey, just the quickness of the release, how sharply he throws the football. Fairly accurate as a passer, and some services have him rated as a dual threat quarterback, while some other services have him rated as a pro-style quarterback. With the offense he ran out of the Denver area, I think viewing him as a dual threat quarterback is fine. It's accurate. It's not because he's going to be the fastest QB in a 40, but he is very comfortable running the football. He's a very willing carrier of the football. He's going to enroll at Michigan with Jim Harbaugh. So Jim Harbaugh does run a pro-style offense, but there's going to be some bootlegs and sprint action with that offense as well that I think will really suit the skill set of Dylan McCaffrey. You see number 2 in the black jersey there, Mike. Focus in on Najee Harris. That's the player I've referenced as the #1 player in America by many of the recruiting services that are there. Najee Harris coming out of the lineup right now. Let's see who's in at running back. Looks like Eno Benjamin will be in at tailback with Dylan McCaffrey staying in at quarterback. Eno Benjamin, former player who was once committed to my alma mater, the University of Iowa, ended up decommitting from the Hawkeyes. And then eventually, how you doing, Tate? Good to see you. Saying hello to Tate Martell real quick back here. But Eno Benjamin, another player who actually is scheduled right now. He's saying he's going to announce where he'll go to college once we're on the air live on Saturday on NBC. It's one of the fun things about the Army Bowl broadcast because we'll have we're expecting anywhere from 8 to 10 players who are planning to commit and proclaim where they're going to go play college football live on the air once we hit NBC Saturday at noon Central, 1 Eastern. So it's one of the fun things about the broadcast because there's things that the folks in America, that coaches around the country are hoping, waiting to figure out. We're going to bring that news to you. So I get to be involved in a football broadcast where a lot of news gets broken. It's one of the few times as a football announcer that we really get that opportunity. So the quarterback position continues to roll with Sean Robinson in the lineup right now. Robinson's going to be headed to TCU. Robinson's a very physically gifted player, rated as one of the top dual threat quarterbacks in the country. And for those of you who pay attention to the scouting services, you recognize that quarterbacks are either rated as pro style or as dual threat. There are skill sets that really suit, both of those sort of monikers, those labels that people tend to use. But Robinson's an interesting story because he actually didn't spend his entire career as a high school player at the same high school. His parents moved, and his mom's a basketball coach at DeSoto, so that's where he spent his senior season, led DeSoto High School in Texas to their very first ever state championship that they ever won in the history of the school, and that was after being for 1 year. That's a very nice looking ball. Dropped it right over an athletic linebacker at the second level. So the vision that's there, this is what 7-on-7 allows you to do because you can test the full route tree without the clutter of the O-line and D-line being in the way of the quarterback. And so while it's not a completely realistic or live look, but you can really develop the skills of the passing game without having big guys like me trying to get after and rush the quarterback and sort of throw things off with being in the throwing window and things of that sort. And again, this is just day 2 of practice, and so it's always interesting. A lot of these guys have spent time on the summer camp circuit, doing things like the Elite 11 and the opening and, FBU camps around the country. And so they've been able to compete with and compete against each other in different spots around the country. But many of them don't know each other, maybe haven't spent much time around each other. So in this early portion of the week, this is where camaraderie starts to build. This is where timing starts to build in the passing game as well. That was a nice anticipatory throw from Tate Martell. And I think where, some of the things that Tate Martell may lack physically in stature, maybe in sheer foot speed, things like that, he really makes up for with some of those intangibles. But do not sleep on the athleticism that's there. He is a very mobile quarterback. You've seen things he's done during the regular season where he's literally hurdled over defenders who are nearly standing straight up. So he is a very high-level athlete, but when you're looking for that classic prototypical quarterback, he doesn't have that height. He's not going to be the fastest quarterback we have here in practice this week, but he is a high-level athlete. But the anticipatory nature that he plays the game with, both on the read option and with the way he throws the football, are what I believe will lead him to success as a college football quarterback. He's breaking the huddle there with Najee Harris. Harris is a commitment to Alabama, committed to the Crimson Tide quite a while ago, but a lot of schools still in the running for Najee Harris, hoping they'll have an opportunity, even though he's verbally committed to the Tide. And you saw a look at part of the reason why, or that seam route that got run by a tailback, and Tate Martell feeling like maybe a flag should have been thrown on that. I tend to agree with Tate. Looked like a potential penalty flag would have come on there for pass interference. But this competitive work, we saw it one-on-one pass rush from the O-line and D-line. Little guys were doing one-on-one pass routes, and then now we've just seen the completion of 7-on-7. So it's been a full day of work. Each team worked individually, and now these two teams have worked against each other. So now we'll see them flip sides here. So where we just saw the West offense completed, now the East offense taking over, and the West will be on defense. And I'd say the depth of the quarterback position for the East squad right now may be as deep as any year I've done this game. This is Anthony Herron talking to you. I've been doing the U.S. Army All-American Bowl broadcast for NBC. This will be my 6th season doing it. Paul Burmeister, my broadcast partner, will be calling the game with me again this season. And Ross Tucker will make up our 3-man booth. On the sidelines, we'll have Lewis Johnson, we'll have Marty Snyder, and the director of scouting for 24/7 Sports, Barton Simmons, who we spoke to earlier while we were here live online. Barton Simmons will be our analyst on the field who covers high school football as well as anyone in the country. So right now, a very impressive passer. Took the snap from center. His name is Jake Fromm. Jake's out of Warner Robins, Georgia. And he's a guy who's actually already committed to the Bulldogs. And one of the places where Georgia has been, you know, an ace recruiting outfit for years and years. You know, of course, back to even before Mark Richt got there, but certainly while Coach Richt was there. One of the places that they've actually struggled for a while now is getting the best quarterbacks out of the state of Georgia. That's what they've done in getting Jake Fromm to commit to the Bulldogs. I believe just from a pure passing standpoint, because a lot of folks will use the term arm talent, and I believe misuse it, because when they say arm talent, a lot of times they're just talking about arm strength. Jake Fromm really combines not just the sheer arm strength, but the ability to anticipate with the way he throws the football, to take a little bit of speed off passes, to throw from a variety of arm slots. You saw a look at it right there. While it was a very simple out route, it looked simple because of the way he threw the football. The timing of it simplified things for him. One of the things that really impressed me about Jared Goff during his time at Cal, and why I wasn't surprised Goff went #1 overall, because there's an anticipatory nature to a guy who's got arm strength, who can throw the football very hard, but recognizes he doesn't always have to throw the football as hard as he can. Now Hunter Johnson in the lineup at quarterback. Very gifted athlete, extremely mobile, very nimble. A guy with a lot of arm strength, probably not as precise as a passer as Jake Fromm. It's a good-looking ball he threw into tight coverage. I'd say from a consistency standpoint, that's where you continue to look for Hunter Johnson to improve, is his ability to throw into those tight windows with accuracy, to make the proper read and do it very consistently, because there's times on film when you watch Hunter Johnson where he's there and he looks like, you know, the All-American that he is, and then there's some occasions where he throws the football to the other team in a situation that perhaps he shouldn't. Johnson's a quarterback that was previously committed to Tennessee and then not too long ago switched his commitment, and he's set to enroll at Clemson. Very light on his feet. He's a great foot athlete. Operated mainly from the spread, from the shotgun, which he'll be doing at Clemson, so that won't be any shock to his system. But you see here, essentially when he's on air, the mechanics of Hunter Johnson, very sharp, very precise. That's exactly what you're looking for from a quarterback. You saw how quickly and how sharply he even went through the reads. Looked over the middle, held the safety for a moment, looked at number 2 to the backside, then came to the field side and threw to what was essentially his safety valve. That's how you want it to look as a quarterback. Very clean, very quick, very precise. Doing great, E. What's happening, man? Good to see you. Looking live inside the huddle right here. Like they're making a few adjustments for the East offense. I don't know if it's a trick play coming or what. We're looking just beyond the shoulder of Donovan Peoples-Jones, the top receiver in the country, number 9. Peoples-Jones won't be in right now. Got the East finally breaking the huddle here. Tua Tagovailoa in the lineup at quarterback. Tagovailoa is headed to Alabama. He'll join the Crimson Tide. And as I was talking to Barton Simmons about it earlier, Tagovailoa is, I believe, just another piece of evidence at the transition that Nick Saban has made, where normally we saw Alabama go slow offensively and operate with a quarterback who's not going to be this dual threat sort of talent. But Jalen Hurts obviously is a true freshman starting for the Tide. He's one of these multi-dimensional talents who's got the ability to run and throw. Tagovailoa fits that same skill set as well. Some members of the military out running pass routes. Completion from Tagovailoa, one of our service members. And that's a part of the experience that the players get here at the U.S. Army All-American Bowl that you don't get at any of the other bowls that are out there, because they get to interact with our military servicemen, servicewomen throughout the week. There's bases here in the San Antonio, Texas area, not only for those who are currently providing service, but also for those who've maybe been injured in combat. The Center for the Intrepid here in San Antonio as well. And the players get to do community service appearances. They get to interact with servicemen and servicewomen. And so that's a part of the experience that's specific to the Army Bowl that these kids get to do. Tagovailoa will stay in the lineup at quarterback, and he's a lefty. And as far as I know, the only left-handed quarterback we have in the game this season. So even just something like the spin of the football, very different coming off the hands of Tua Tagovailoa. Nearly coming up with an amazing grab there. Tua Tagovailoa given an opportunity to the wide receiver. Let me make sure I identify properly who that was. Yep, that was Tariq Black on the outside. He got the ability to high point footballs, not only the frame, but the leaping ability to do it. And I'd say one of the most impressive things about Tua Tagovailoa is the fact that he didn't play consistently against a high level of competition out there on the Hawaiian Islands. We don't get many players. We had Vavai Malapeai last season from over on the islands. We don't get a lot of Hawaiian players in the U.S. Army All-American Bowl, but Tua Tagovailoa is, I believe, just the latest example of where not just the overall Polynesian talent, but specifically to the islands of Hawaii and how the sport of football has really taken off on the islands. Jake Fromm back in the lineup now. Just that quick, sharp, decisive release is why, from the standpoint of a pure passer who's here right now, who 24/7 Sports has rated as the #1 quarterback, Davis Mills, not able to compete this week. He'll be here later in the week in person, though. But just as far as a pure passer, I would say Jake Fromm is the player who maybe is most impressive, not only with the arm strength, but with the accuracy and the anticipation. Just talking to some folks out here before practice, they said he's a guy who picked up the offense as far as what they've installed so far as quickly as any quarterback out here. Cam Akers offset from Fromm. And Ghost, if you can find #3 in the black jersey there, who's kind of working with the huddle towards the middle here. Cam Akers is #3 in the black jersey. You can stick with Cam Akers. He's a very interesting story as a player who has very quickly turned himself into one of the top running back recruits in the country while very infrequently ever actually playing the running back position. Akers played quarterback in a spread offense for pretty much his entire high school career. And so his evaluation has been largely off of the ability he's had to run the football from within the pocket. But from an evaluation standpoint, one of the things you have to sort of be able to spin forward is how does his ability to carry the football as a quarterback relate to being a running back? Because there are differences that can't be ignored with the fact that as a quarterback, he can drop back. He threw for over 3,000 yards. He ran for over 2,000 yards. So he was enough of a threat as a passer where it wasn't like the defenses were just able to spy him the entire game. Well, Cam Akers is a very interesting evaluation. He's already committed to Florida State, so we expect to see him in Tallahassee not too long from now. But you see the top gear. He can get to it very quickly, extreme speed as a runner. He runs with power, with durability. So all those things you're hoping from a physical trait standpoint as a tailback, Cam Akers possesses those. But the question is, how consistently can he read the holes as a running back? We'll get into that more once we hit NBC on Saturday at 1 Eastern. Sounds like we're getting to the final 2 plays of this segment of practice, 7-on-7. East squad on offense right now, West on defense. We spent the previous portion of this practice session really focused on the O-line and D-line as they went through one-on-one pass rush. Here, finishing up the 7-on-7 passing session. So this gives us an opportunity going here live online on YouTube, Facebook, and different platforms you folks have been sharing out there. This gives us the opportunity to give you an initial look at some of these players. Those of you who maybe haven't gotten as used to them, or an opportunity to view them, give you the opportunity for an initial look before we hit the air on Saturday. It's part of why Tagovailoa has been the MVP at most of the passing academies he's been to throughout the summers. I mean, think about traveling from over on the Hawaiian Islands, coming over to the mainland. I mean, hours and hours on an airplane and then competing against some of the top talent in the country. And Tua Tagovailoa has done that at an extremely high level, high enough where he was the MVP of the Elite 11, and specifically from the quarterback position, the Elite 11 viewed as the highest level of quarterback competition in the country for the high schoolers. This may be the last rep of this practice session. Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback. He'll take the shotgun snap. Up, misread. Throws the interception. Defense makes a play. That was Jeffrey Okudah, uncommitted player, one of the top defensive backs in America. Okudah making the final interception. So I believe that's going to bring this practice session to an end. And so for All-American Games, I'm Anthony Herron. We've been here on the practice field early in the week. We'll be here all throughout the week, and as I mentioned, Saturday's broadcast, noon Central, 1 Eastern on NBC. We'll be able to talk quarterbacks, running backs, O-line, D-line. Today's goal was to just give you an initial look at all the talent that's going to be on the field of play. It's been my pleasure to spend about an hour with you online. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see. Maybe we'll get back and do a little bit more of this later in the week. I'm on Twitter at Big Ant Herron. I'll be bringing you photos and videos as we lead towards Saturday on NBC as well. For now, that's all from Hero Stadium in San Antonio. Thanks for watching.